Hello Internet! Today I have got two battles for you from day 2 of the World Championships. Now, as I'm sure you probably know, you can't record full sets in official competitions. Unfortunately, you can only look back on the very last battle that you've had, which is a little bit of a shame, but I thought I had some battles that just needed recording in some way. So, via my friend's phone and some stabilization on the computer, we've got this. It does look a bit better when you get into the game, so, bear with me. But I will take you through what happened in game 1 and, exactly what's happening here too. So, you're not going to be lost. But this is from my first round. I was playing a Hideyuki Taida from Japan, who I'm pretty sure was the guy that got second at Worlds last year, the runner-up of the World Championships with that Volcarona last year. So quite interesting that I'm using my Volcarona against him now, but let's get into this, and I'll kind of take you through what happened in game 1 as well. So, let's see how we lead here, because in game 1, I led with Smirgle Xerneas, and I'm pretty sure he led with Smirgle Xerneas as well. On team preview, it was hard not to notice we had very, very, very similar teams, which did kind of make me think, how many Japanese players are going to be bringing Xerneas and Rayquaza like I have, and, how many of these teams are going to be, going around the place. But basically, you both led Smirgle Xerneas. I used Fake Out in his Smirgle, onto his Smirgle, and we both Geomantied up. Now, that's a position that I don't mind, because I brought my Volcarona in the back. Volcarona is going to do some work here. And basically, I just switched my Volcarona in on a Dazzling Gleam. Resists, obviously, doesn't take too much damage, and it red cards his Xerneas out. So game 1 went perfectly for me. Really, really perfectly for me. I did identify in game 1 that his Talonflame was Choice Banded, so it can threaten for a lot of damage. It's probably the most threatening thing actually on his team for me, that Talonflame. And he knows that my Smirgle is Choice Scarfed as well, so there's no Focus Sash or anything like that. So he's adjusted really nicely. He's led with his Talonflame here because he knows that either he threatens with a one-shot on my Smirgle, or probably about a 3/4 onto my Xerneas. So we'll see what happens here. Actually goes for the Brave Bird on my Smirgle, and some nice recoil damage, and a Geomancy, and I'm sure you won't be surprised to see a Geomancy from him as well. Okay, so that turn, well, it wasn't the prettiest of turns for me, I suppose, but it was as good as I could have hoped for. Maybe, I don't know, I suppose I put him in a position where either he targets my Smirgle with a Brave Bird, or I get a Dark Void off and potentially put both of his Pokemon to sleep. So he was in a way kind of forced to target my Smirgle there to stop that. We've both got our Geomancies. He did actually have, the difference is, he had Rayquaza, Xerneas, and Smirgle. He had Landorus Therian, he had Talonflame, and he had Amoonguss as well. Now, game 1, he didn't bring his Amoonguss, and I suspected his Amoonguss might have had the red card on it. So I've got my red card on Volcarona. He maybe, in my head, has maybe got his red card on his Amoonguss. So I was a little bit worried about that during the course of the game, but let's see what happens. I bring in my Volcarona. Now, he knows that my Volcarona is red card, so he can't Brave Bird my... Well, I suppose he could Brave Bird my Xerneas, actually, and maybe Moonblast it, but I can Rage Powder, and maybe he just wanted to target my Volcarona to get rid of the red card, and so this was a bit of a risky move. I actually protected my Volcarona, expecting the Brave Bird into the Volcarona, which does happen, luckily, thankfully, and because that Talonflame is a problem, I get to Moonblast it and knock it out. Now, that turn went perfectly for me as well. I read that right, because he kind of had to, in a way, target my Volcarona, else he was just going to get his Xerneas red carded out again. So he didn't want that to happen. So, some support Talonflame don't carry some support Volcarona rather don't carry Protect as well. So maybe he felt safer doing that. So the Protect on Volcarona really saved me there, and getting a knockout on his Talonflame was key for me there. So really happy with how that went. I really don't mind that I took a Moonblast here, just because I've got rid of that Talonflame. So he brings his Rayquaza in. From the first game, I know that his Rayquaza is actually Life Orb. So I'm thinking, ooh, I could be in extreme speed range, maybe, maybe not, I don't know. So you'll see what happens here. I mean, in a way, he's got to extreme speed my Xerneas, hasn't he? I suppose a bit like the turn before, he knows that I've got the red card, and he really needed to Brave Bird into it to get rid of the red card, so that wasn't going to red card out his Xerneas. So now he's got to extreme speed my Volcarona, surely. So this turn, let's see what happens. This turn, I protect my Xerneas. He does extreme speed into my Volcarona. No burn, unfortunately. I red card out his Rayquaza. So this brings in his Smeargle, I do believe. And he goes for a Moonblast into my Xerneas, and I show the Whirlwind. So Volcarona, last game, red carded out his Xerneas to win me the game. This game, I red carded out his his Rayquaza and Whirlwinded out his Xerneas, which is fantastic. So he's just got rid of all of those boosts, wasted his Power Herb, fantastic for me. And I know now that his Rayquaza is not Focus Sashed, so I just threaten it with a Fairy attack, basically. Moody, thankfully, doesn't get any sort of evasion boosts or anything. He protects his Xerneas here, and I just go for a Dazzling Gleam. I suppose I could have, or I was a little bit wary of the Wide Guard, but I just had an inkling that he might not go for it. I suppose this was a game 2, I won game 1 as well, so if he did Wide Guard here, then it would have been good information for the future. And I suppose if he did Wide Guard as well, then I was still going to bring Smeargle down to its sash with my Volcarona, and I would still have my Rayquaza in the back as well, assuming that he would Dragon Ascent my Xerneas. But no Wide Guard, and I just overheat, which can't miss thanks to the evasion drop, and knock out his Smeargle. So my Volcarona, maybe thinking what his thoughts might have been for that is that maybe he's seen how well my Volcarona is taking these attacks. He might have thought my Volcarona wasn't actually faster than his Smeargle, but it is. So yeah, again, there's going to be a team report of this team going up in a few days' time. You'll get to see everything about my Volcarona. I'm pretty proud of it, actually. So at this point, his Smeargle's gone down. His Talonflame has gone down. He's just got both of his restricted Pokemon left. I've got my Xerneas at +2 now, so I'm really, really happy. I've got my Rayquaza in the back too. He goes for an extreme speed onto my Volcarona. Even a critical hit there doesn't knock it out. But I go for a Rage Powder. There's not really any reason why. And a Dazzling Gleam just to knock out the Rayquaza. And he can Dazzling Gleam with his Xerneas. And finally knock out my Volcarona, do a bit of damage to my Xerneas, but the game is over at this point, and so I think he just forfeits here, actually. I think. Yeah, so I put my Rayquaza in, and that's the game over. So, is that it? Yep, that is it. So, there you go. That is round 1, the last game of my round 1. You can see why I wanted to record that, because Volcarona didn't do anything on stream, unfortunately, but it got to red card in both games, and it got to Whirlwind in this game as well. So, we're going to do another battle in this video as well, and this is going to be my round, it was my round 4 opponent, against Yosuke Isagi, who is the Japanese person. I think he got top 4 at Worlds last year. So, in 4 rounds, I've played 2 of the top cut of the Japanese, the almost all Japanese top cut from last year. I think his online name is Tony, and in fact, I'm pretty sure it is when we get into this video. Tony, and I think this guy is the guy who is credited as creating the Big 6 team. So, this was going to be interesting. He's the guy that wears, he wears that sort of mask quite often and shuffles those cards quite a lot. So you probably saw that on stream maybe last year. It was that guy, just so you know who he was. And so this is game 3, actually. So Tony, that's what his online name is. So we'll get into the leads, and I'll tell you what I can remember of the first 2 games, because this is game 3. There we go. So he leads Smeargle Xerneas, and I lead Smeargle Xerneas. There we go. What a wonderful lead. Let's see the Fairy Auras. There we go. Now, this is a speed tie, as we saw just there. Both of our Xerneas are max speed. His Smeargle is not scarfed, though, I don't believe. So, I'm feeling pretty good, actually. In game 1, he led just like this, and I used Fake Out on his Smeargle, and went for a Geomancy. He went for a Geomancy. He switched his Smeargle into his Kangaskhan on that turn 1 though, so he had a fake out turn 2. Interestingly, his Kangaskhan had Helping Hand as well, so actually, because I didn't bring my Volcarona in game 1, he swept through me with his own Xerneas and Helping Hand Kangaskhan, which is quite interesting actually. So, game 2, I needed my Volcarona, and we both led the same again. I led Smeargle Xerneas, he led Smeargle Xerneas. Again, I went for the fake out into his Smeargle, but he didn't switch it in game 2. And we both got our Geomancies, and then I got to bring in my Volcarona and red carded off his Xerneas and won that way. So a bit like the last game that we've just seen. So both games, we both led Smeargle Xerneas, and both games I used fake out into his Smeargle. Game 1, he switched the Smeargle out into Kangaskhan turn 1, and he won that game. Game 2, he left his Smeargle in to let me use fake out on it, and I won that game with the Volcarona. His team was actually the Big B. It was the Big 6 team with Bronze on. So I thought in the third game, this game, he might go Trick Room because he saw my Volcarona was so good against, his Xerneas mode. So I was really worried about that. But let's see what happens. So remember, I've used Fake Out on his Smeargle both games. Game 1, he switched it out and won. Game 2, he kept it in and lost. What's going to happen this time? So he's withdrawing it this time, like he did in the game 1 that he won. And in comes the Kangaskhan, but I use Dark Void. There you go, you're asleep. And I get my Geomancy. So this individual game might not be as spectacular as some other games, but I just wanted to sort of show it off and talk about it as well, because like in yesterday's video, the round 8 of day 1, Ray Rizzo was commentating and he said that I was using some really risky strategies with this Scarfed Smeargle, but I got every play right, and I think that is one of my strengths as a player. I'm just pretty good at at the raw predictions, and because in a way, like I'd sort of conditioned him in a way, like in fighting games, so that I was just using Fake Out every game. He switched the Smeargle out, and I just Dark Voided. I just Dark Voided on him, and it's really worked out for me. So Smeargle is going to come back now. Kangaskhan can't wake up. I've got my Geomancy. His Smeargle, his Xerneas has got a 1 in 3 chance of waking up. I put my Rayquaza in though, and let's see what happens. So he Mega Evolves, can't wake up though. And, oh, the screen has gone black. Okay, and it's come back again. There we go, okay, yeah, so he's asleep, and I use Moonblast into his Xerneas, and it doesn't knock it out, unfortunately. My Xerneas has got enough special attack into it to one-shot, just 4 HP Xerneas, which I didn't expect to come across, so that Xerneas has got some bulk in it. But at least I know, like, the calculation, so I know sort of the benchmark now. I suppose if he woke up there, if he Geomancied, not much of a problem because I can Extreme Speed him now. If he went for a Dazzling Gleam, then he would have brought me down to my Sash, but I could have still Extreme Speeded him next turn. So, what's going to happen now? Let's have a look. So, I Mega Evolve. At this point, I'm thinking, well, I'm so far up in the game, let's just try to not choke this victory away. So Mega Evolve Rayquaza, and there we go. So really simple, Extreme Speed into the Xerneas, and I'm pretty sure I just Moonblast into the Kangaskhan. No reason not to. So that is his Kangaskhan down and his Xerneas down straight away. Now I'm obviously in a good position, but there is a Smeargle on the field, and I don't want to lose to it because Groudon is still potentially a threat. So we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure I do make a little bit of a risky move here as well. Let's see. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, because his Smeargle, I'm not sure if his Smeargle had shown Fake Out or not. I didn't want him to, fake out and get a lot of damage with an Eruption or something like that. I did want to withdraw my Rayquaza to bring up the Delta Stream just to get rid of the Sun again. And I didn't want to just double protect on him because some Smeargle, I think particularly some Japanese Smeargle, do, even if they're not scarfed, have got transform on them, and I did not want him transforming into my Xerneas to basically, you know, bring him back into the game. So let's see what happens. I do withdraw my Rayquaza. So I do put my Smeargle in. And he does go for a Fake Out onto my Xerneas. And I'm pretty sure he does go for an Eruption, yeah. So I don't mind that. I've just lost my Smeargle, and I've taken a good chunk of damage onto my Xerneas as well. He's moody, doesn't get him anything important really, which is also nice. The risky thing about that turn is I'm thinking maybe he must have shown the Fake Out in a previous game, because he could have just gone straight for a Dark Void there. Like, I brought my Smeargle in and just attacked with my Xerneas. So yeah, his Smeargle would have gone down to his sashes. Groudon would have taken a lot of damage. I still think I would have won the game, but he could have put both of my Pokemon to sleep. Because I did basically sacrifice Smeargle, I can get rid of the Sun, so Eruption is going to be doing even less damage now. And if he did go for a Transform and not a Fake Out, he would have been brought down to his Sash as well, so that I can just Extreme Speed at the next turn too. So that was my thinking. I just didn't want to, you know, the game was heavily in my favour, but I just didn't want to throw it away, basically. So next turn, again, I just go for an Extreme Speed. He goes for a Follow Me for whatever reason, and a Dazzling Gleam. Maybe he hasn't got Wide Guard. Even if he had got Wide Guard, the next turn I could have just Extreme Speeded the Smeargle and Moonblasted his Groudon and won the game there as well. So Eruption does nothing to my Rayquaza, and that is the game. And that is my round 1 and round 4, how they both finished. Yeah, so that was Hideyuki and Mr. Yosuke. Both of them, I'm pretty sure, did Top Cult Worlds last year, so I was a little bit of a destroyer of the Japanese Top Cut from last year. So I'm hoping that you enjoy this. I know it's not, you know, perfect sort of you know, capture card sort of quality, but you know, when else are you going to see some proper Day 2 Worlds action? So you know, at this point, after that, I'm 3-1 up. And feeling pretty good, actually. Feeling like I'm playing really well. So thanks a lot for watching this, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it. Please like and share and do all the rest of it. Tomorrow I'm going to do another video with a few more games, and then the next day is going to be my quarterfinals. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and goodbye for now.